You probably think you're a law-abiding citizen. You wake up, brush your teeth, put on pants, go outside, maybe eat a sandwich, cross the street, feed a pigeon, take a selfie, chew gum, and go about your day like a normal person. But somewhere in the world, at least one of those completely normal things could get you fined, yelled at, arrested, deported, or stared at by an officer who looks like he has been waiting his entire life to ruin your vacation. So today, you and your best stickman friend are going on a world tour. The challenge is simple. Survive 24 hours without breaking a single weird law. If you succeed, you win $1 million. If you fail, you get whatever punishment the local law decides you deserve. And unfortunately for you, you already failed. The first mistake happened before you even left the airport. You stepped off the plane, stretched your legs, looked around at the beautiful new country you just entered, and your friend immediately said, "Bro, this is going to be easy. We just act normal." Which is a dangerous sentence, because normal is exactly the problem. What feels normal in one country can be illegal, suspicious, offensive, disrespectful, financially painful, or just weird enough to make a security guard slowly reach for his radio. And before this trip is over, you're going to learn that the world has some laws that make sense, some laws that kind of make sense, and some laws that sound like they were written at 3 a.m. by a raccoon in a government office. So let's start with one of the most famous weird laws in the world. You and your friend land in Singapore. Everything looks clean. Too clean. The airport floor looks cleaner than your dinner plate. The walls look cleaner than your browser history after you panic delete it. Even the trash cans look like they pay taxes. Your friend looks around and says, "Bro, this place is spotless." OddStick nods. And then your friend immediately reaches into his pocket, pulls out a piece of gum and says, "Long flight, I need this." And that's when every imaginary police siren in OddStick's brain goes off. Because Singapore is famous for having very strict rules around chewing gum. Now, it's not as simple as gum is completely illegal and everyone who chews it goes to prison. That's the exaggerated internet version. But Singapore has had strict restrictions on selling and importing chewing gum for decades, mostly because gum was being stuck everywhere, under tables, on sidewalks, in elevators, and even in train doors. And when gum starts messing with public transportation, that's when a government stops laughing. So while your friend is not immediately dragged into a secret anti-gum dungeon, he is definitely not starting this challenge with great decision-making. OddStick grabs the gum out of his hand and says, "No chewing, no sticking, no being you." Your friend nods, throws the gum away, and immediately asks if spitting is allowed, which is exactly the wrong follow-up question. Because in Singapore, public cleanliness is taken very seriously. Littering, spitting, vandalism, and making public spaces dirty can lead to fines or other punishments. And honestly, this is one of those laws where you kind of understand the point. Nobody wants to walk down the street and step into someone's mystery mouth liquid. But your friend, who apparently has the survival instincts of a wet napkin, finishes a snack and casually drops the wrapper near a trash can. Not in the trash can, near it, which is the international symbol for "I almost cared." OddStick freezes. A police officer slowly turns his head. The wrapper sits there on the ground like a tiny confession. Your friend whispers, "Do you think he saw?" The officer is already walking toward you. That's when OddStick dives forward like he's saving a baby from traffic, grabs the wrapper, throws it into the bin, and smiles like nothing happened. The officer keeps staring. You lose $0. But you do lose several years of emotional stability. And just like that, you learn the first rule of this trip. If a place looks cleaner than a hospital commercial, maybe don't test the cleaning laws. Next stop, Venice. Beautiful canals, old buildings, romantic streets, tourists everywhere, and pigeons, so many pigeons. Your friend looks at the pigeons and instantly becomes the kind of person who thinks he is the main character in a children's movie. He buys a little bag of food and says, "I'm going to feed the birds." OddStick says, "Please don't." He says, "But they love me." OddStick says, "That's not love. That's hunger with wings." In Venice, feeding pigeons in certain public areas, especially around famous tourist locations like St. Mark's Square, has been restricted or banned because pigeons damage buildings, create mess, and turn historic landmarks into bird bathrooms. And when your city is basically an outdoor museum floating on water, you don't want 1,000 pigeons redecorating it. Your friend throws one tiny crumb. Instantly, pigeons appear from every direction like they received a group text. One pigeon lands on a statue, another lands on a tourist's head. 3 more pigeons look directly at your friend like he has just become their elected leader. OddStick watches in horror as your peaceful vacation turns into a low-budget bird apocalypse. An officer points. Your friend drops the food. The pigeons surround him. And just like that, the challenge almost ends because your friend wanted to be Disney for 12 seconds. OddStick grabs him by the hoodie and pulls him away, while pigeons chase behind you like unpaid interns. Your friend says, "I think they liked me." OddStick says, "They liked your crimes." After escaping the pigeons, you fly to Thailand. You're tired, sweaty, and already emotionally damaged. Your friend buys a drink from a street vendor. He pulls out some cash, drops a bill, and before it blows away, he instinctively steps on it with his foot. OddStick's soul leaves his body. Because in Thailand, money carries the image of the king, and disrespecting the monarchy is taken extremely seriously. Stepping on money can be seen as disrespectful because your foot is considered low and dirty, and the currency may contain the king's image. Now, does every tourist who accidentally steps on a bill get instantly arrested? No. But is it a horrible idea to treat currency disrespectfully in a country with strict rules around royal respect? Absolutely. OddStick slowly lifts your friend's foot, picks up the money, dusts it off like it's an injured baby bird, and hands it back to the vendor with the face of a man trying not to be internationally canceled. Your friend whispers, "I was just trying to stop it from flying away." OddStick says, "Next time, let the money escape." And that is the second lesson of this trip. When you travel, objects are not always just objects. A bill can be more than money. A statue can be more than decoration. A building can be more than a building. And a pigeon can be a tiny feathered lawsuit. Next, you arrive in Dubai, huge buildings, luxury cars, perfect roads. Everything looks expensive enough to charge you rent just for looking at it. You and your friend walk through a mall. Someone bumps into your friend. Your friend turns around and says a word that would make a sailor ask him to calm down. OddStick tackles him into a decorative plant. Because in the UAE, public behavior laws can be strict, and swearing, rude gestures, or offensive public conduct can potentially get people in serious trouble. This includes things that many people online do every day before breakfast. Your friend says, "I can't even swear?" OddStick says, "You can, just not here. And preferably not near witnesses, cameras, police, malls, roads, airports, phones, or oxygen." The point is simple. In some places, public behavior is not just about being polite, it can be a legal issue. So now your friend must survive Dubai without swearing, flipping anyone off, arguing loudly, or saying what he really thinks. In other words, this may be the hardest part of the entire challenge. For the next hour, he walks around silently. He sees a car parked badly. He says nothing. He gets bumped again. He says nothing. A child spills juice on his shoe. He closes his eyes and whispers, "I am legally peaceful." OddStick is proud. concerned but proud. After Dubai, you decide to calm things down. So you go to Switzerland. Mountains, lakes, chocolate, peace. Finally, nothing can go wrong. You rent a small apartment for the night and your friend says, "Bro, we survived half the day. Let's celebrate." He pulls out a speaker. OddStick immediately appears in front of him like a sleep-deprived security guard. Because in Switzerland, many residential areas take quiet hours seriously, especially late at night and on Sundays. The details depend on the place, building, and local rules, but the idea is clear: people value peace and quiet. Your friend says, "It's just one song." OddStick says, "That sentence has started every noise complaint in human history." He presses play. The music is on for exactly half a second. A neighbor knocks on the wall. Another neighbor knocks on the door. A third neighbor somehow knocks from inside your own conscience. OddStick turns the speaker off. Your friend says, "So what do people do here for fun?" OddStick points at the mountains. Your friend says, "Quietly?" OddStick says, "Exactly." And that's when you realize something important. Some laws are not weird because they are random. Some laws are weird because they force you to respect the thing a culture values most. In Singapore, cleanliness. In Thailand, royal respect. In Venice, protecting historic places. In Switzerland, peace and quiet. And in your friend's case, apparently, the right to cause problems everywhere. The next morning, you rent a tiny car in Germany. Your friend is excited because Germany has the Autobahn, famous for sections with no general speed limit. He says, "Finally, freedom." OddStick says, "That is usually what people say right before rules appear." Because while the Autobahn is famous for speed, it is also serious about safety. Stopping unnecessarily on the Autobahn can be dangerous, and running out of fuel may be treated as preventable because drivers are expected to plan ahead. Your friend says, "Relax, the fuel light just came on." OddStick looks at the dashboard. The fuel light is not just on. It looks emotionally disappointed. You are in the middle of a highway where cars are moving like missiles with license plates. OddStick screams, "Find a gas station." Your friend says, "We have time." The car coughs. OddStick sees his life flash before his eyes, but it's just a montage of every bad decision your friend has made so far. By pure luck, you reach a gas station with the fuel gauge lower than your confidence. You survive. Barely. And your friend learns that even in a place famous for driving fast, the most dangerous thing on the road is still poor planning. Next stop, Australia. Your friend gets off the plane holding an apple from the flight. OddStick looks at the apple. The apple looks normal, but Australia does not play around with biosecurity. Because Australia has a unique environment, strict rules exist around bringing in food, plants, seeds, animal products, and other items that could introduce pests or diseases. At the airport, there are signs everywhere basically saying, "Declare it or regret it." Your friend says, "It's just an apple." OddStick says, "That's what the apple wants you to think." He grabs the apple and points to the declaration area. Because sometimes the issue is not whether the item is evil, the issue is whether you declare it. Failing to declare certain food or biological items can lead to fines. Your friend looks at the apple and says, "I didn't know fruit could be suspicious." OddStick says, "In Australia, even the fruit has a background check." A customs officer looks at the apple. The apple looks guilty. Your friend looks guilty. OddStick somehow looks guilty too, and he didn't even pack the apple. The officer lets you continue after the item is declared properly. And now your friend is afraid of fruit, which honestly might be the safest thing that has happened all day. You fly to Japan. Everything feels organized, bright, and weirdly peaceful. Your friend sees a vending machine and immediately starts acting like he discovered ancient treasure. He buys a drink, then another. Then he says, I love this country. OddStick says, you've been here 6 minutes. Japan has a reputation for being safe, clean, and orderly. But that does not mean you can behave like a broken shopping cart in public. Public drunkenness, disorderly behavior, harassment, making a scene, or causing trouble can still bring police attention. The law might not be never drink outside ever, but the social rule is even stronger. Don't be the reason everyone turns around. Your friend starts singing, not loudly, just loud enough to become everyone's problem. OddStick slowly covers his mouth. A nearby businessman looks at you with the quiet disappointment of 10 generations. Your friend stops singing. OddStick whispers, congratulations. You were nearly arrested by shame. And honestly, shame may be the most powerful law enforcement tool ever invented. No sirens, no handcuffs, just one disappointed man in a suit, silently destroying your soul. After Japan, you fly to Canada for a peaceful nature break. There are trees, mountains, fresh air, and one very confident raccoon. Your friend sees the raccoon and says, he looks hungry. OddStick says, he looks employed. In many parks and protected areas, feeding wildlife is illegal or heavily restricted because it can make animals dependent on humans, aggressive, sick, or dangerous. But your friend has already pulled out chips. The raccoon stands on its back legs like a tiny criminal. OddStick knocks the chips out of your friend's hand. Your friend says, bro? He asks politely. OddStick says, that raccoon has outstanding warrants. Feeding wild animals might look cute for 10 seconds, but it can create long-term problems for both people and animals. Animals that get used to human food can start approaching people, biting, stealing, getting sick, or becoming dangerous enough that park officials have to step in. So that one cute video can turn into a very bad outcome for the animal. The raccoon slowly walks away, offended. Your friend whispers, I think he'll remember me. OddStick says, that's what I'm afraid of. Next stop, Greece. Ancient ruins, marble columns, thousands of years of history. Your friend says, this place is beautiful. OddStick says, finally, a normal reaction. Then your friend points at a tourist wearing high heels and says, why does everyone keep staring at her shoes? At certain ancient sites in Greece, rules have existed against wearing high heels because they can damage fragile historical surfaces. And honestly, that makes sense. If a building survived wars, earthquakes, empires, and thousands of years of weather, it should not be defeated by someone's shoe choice. OddStick imagines a tiny heel stabbing ancient stone like a villain in a history documentary. Your friend says, so shoes can be illegal? OddStick says, not illegal everywhere, just historically annoying. The lesson is simple. When you visit ancient places, your outfit is not just fashion. Sometimes it's a threat to archaeology. Your friend looks down at his own shoes. They are normal. For once. OddStick marks it as the first miracle of the trip. After Greece, you go to Rome. Your friend sees a beautiful fountain and says, I should jump in. OddStick does not even react at first. He just stares at him. Because this is the kind of sentence that makes you question whether friendship is worth it. In many cities, especially places with historic fountains and monuments, climbing into fountains, swimming in them, damaging them, or treating them like a public pool can lead to fines. And Rome has had plenty of problems with tourists behaving like historic landmarks, our theme park props. Your friend puts one foot near the fountain edge. OddStick grabs him by the hoodie. Your friend says, I just wanted a cool picture. OddStick says, you were about to become a cautionary article. And that's one of the biggest lessons of this trip. Sometimes weird laws exist because one person did something so stupid that the government had to write it down. Somewhere, at some point, someone looked at a historic fountain and thought, that looks like a swimming pool. And then a tired official had to create a rule for the rest of humanity. At this point, you and your friend are exhausted. You have survived gum, pigeons, money, swearing, noise complaints, highways, apples, vending machines, raccoons, ancient shoes, and fountain stupidity. You sit down in a hotel room and open a giant book titled World Laws. Your friend says, okay, but now that we know the rules, we're safe. OddStick slowly turns the page. There are more laws, so many more laws. Local laws, travel laws, traffic laws, public behavior laws, customs laws, wildlife laws, monument laws, noise laws, clothing rules, food rules, photography rules. OddStick keeps turning pages. The book gets bigger, the room gets darker, your friend gets quieter. He says, how's anyone supposed to know all this? OddStick says, that's the fun part. You're not. And that's when the final lesson hits. Most people don't break weird laws because they're criminals. They break them because they assume the whole world works like their hometown. And the world absolutely does not. In one place, feeding a bird is cute. In another place, it is a fine. In one place, speaking your mind is normal. In another place, it can create serious trouble. In one place, a snack is just a snack. In another place, it is a biosecurity concern. In one place, a fountain is background scenery. In another place, it is a protected historic monument that absolutely does not need your wet vacation photo. The 24-hour timer finally hits 0. You and your friends stand in front of the challenge board. A giant screen calculates the results. Singapore almost failed. Venice, bird-related disaster. Thailand, currency incident. Dubai, emotional language violation. Switzerland, speaker crime. Germany, fuel-based stupidity. Australia, suspicious apple. Japan, public singing shame. Canada, raccoon bribery attempt. Greece, shoe-based archaeology threat. Rome, fountain nonsense. The screen pauses. Your friend smiles. OddStick says, there is no way we won. The screen flashes. Challenge. Result, technically alive. Prize money, $0. Legal fees, somehow pending. Your friend says, so, road trip again next week? OddStick looks directly at the camera. No. And there you have it. Some of the craziest laws, rules, and travel mistakes you could accidentally break without even realizing it. Now, obviously, this video is not legal advice. Please do not use a stickman cartoon as your lawyer. But if there is one thing you should take away from this, it's that whenever you travel somewhere new, check the rules before your friend starts feeding pigeons, stepping on money, yelling in public, trying to fight a raccoon, or attempting to turn a historic fountain into a bathtub. Because somewhere in the world, normal behavior can become illegal behavior very quickly. And the strangest part is that most of these laws did not appear out of nowhere. A lot of them exist because something went wrong. Someone made a mess. Someone damaged a landmark. Someone ignored local customs. Someone annoyed an entire apartment building. Someone brought the wrong food through an airport. Someone treated a protected place like a playground. And eventually, someone in charge said, okay, apparently we need a law for this now. That is what makes weird laws so interesting. They are not just random rules. They are tiny windows into what a place values, what it fears, what it protects, and what tourists have ruined before you arrived. So the next time you go somewhere new, remember OddStick's travel survival checklist. Do not litter. Do not feed random animals. Do not disrespect money, monuments, flags, leaders, religious sites, or anything that looks like it has its own security guard. Do not assume your normal behavior is normal everywhere. Do not let your loudest friend make legal decisions. And if a raccoon looks like it wants your chips, understand that the raccoon is not your friend. It is a test, a furry little legal test. And if you enjoyed watching OddStick nearly get arrested in multiple countries, subscribe for more weird facts, simple sticks, and bad decisions. On this channel, we'll explore strange history, bizarre laws, creepy mysteries, real animals that sound fake, and human decisions so bad they accidentally became educational. So stay weird, stay curious, read the signs, declare the apple, respect the pigeons from a distance, and please stop trying to jump into fountains.